like to do is create a custom wall. This would be a foundation wall, but what I'd like to do is have a 2-foot foundation wall that's bearing 6 inches of insulation on top of it. So under projects, let's go open. I'm gonna go to custom walls. I'm gonna click open. Under structural plans, I'm gonna go level 1. Now under structure, I'm gonna click wall. It's gonna be a basic foundation wall. 1'6" concrete is the one we used before. Let's click edit type. Now let's go duplicate. And I'd like this to be foundation 2'0" concrete with 6-inch insulation. Let's click OK. Now for structure, let's click edit next to the value. Let's make sure in our views we are set to section modify type attributes. If not, notice vertical structure, we're going to be using this. It gets grayed out if you're looking at it in plan. So let's make sure we are set for a section. Now what I'm going to do is I want to click on the core boundary here, which is number 1. Now I'm going to click on insert. For the function, I'm going to click the drop down. You would think it'd be thermal air layer, but that won't work with what we're trying to do. So I'm just going to go finish 1. Now for my material, I'm going to click into where it says by category. I'm going to click on my builder button. That brings me to my material browser. Now, if you don't have the Autodesk materials down here, go ahead and click on this little button right here. This shows or hides the library panel. So let's make sure we have our library panel showing. And in our search box up here, type in insulation. I want to find rigid insulation, select it, and click OK. Now the thickness of that rigid insulation wants to be 6 inches. Let's hit enter. Notice that our total thickness now builds up to 2 feet. But what I'd like to do is create a 4-foot concrete ledge that this insulation bears on. So what I'd like to do is zoom into here. Now for modify vertical structure, what I'd like to do is click on split region right here. Let's make sure that we go up to 4 feet and that the little split line is going into the rigid insulation. So I'm going to pick that. Don't hit escape or anything like that, or it'll drop you out of the edit assembly dialog completely. Now, what we need to do is I want to merge my concrete into that rigid insulation. So I want to click on merge regions. And notice when you hover over that line, your little bar with an arrow, make sure that bar or that arrow is facing to the left so that we're merging our concrete into our rigid insulation. Once you see that, click that point. Don't hit escape. Now notice that 6 inches is fixed and this is variable. So I'm going to click OK. Now I want to click OK. Now what I want to do is come in here and our location of the line, let's make it finish face exterior. I'm going to pick a point like right here. Let's just draw our wall straight out. Now line A, I'll add an elbow. I'll drag that up. Now what I'd like to do is click on my section button right here. I want to cut a section right through my wall. Escape a few times. Now let's double click on our section. You can't see it now because of the fact that our detail level is set for coarse. Let's set our detail level to fine. Let's set our scale. Let's set it to 1/2 inch equals a foot. Now when we zoom in, we'll see that we have a concrete ledge holding up some rigid insulation. However high that's going is how high it's going, but this is our wall. So that's how you create a custom wall in Revit. Let's go to level 1 structural plan. Let's go to the structure tab. Let's click the floor button. Now instead of 3-inch lightweight concrete on 2-inch metal deck, I want to go with 6-inch concrete. Now I want to click on edit type right here. I want to duplicate it. And I want to call it 6-inch concrete basement. And I'm going to click OK. I just want to click OK here. Now I want to make sure we extend it into wall core. What we're going to do is on the draw panel, I want to click on my pick walls button. Notice that we can pick supports, we can pick lines, but I want to pick walls right here. I want to go to the inside face of my wall, and I want to hit my tab key once. I'm going to pick it. So to do that again, I'm just going to hover over this wall, so it lights it up to the inside face. And once that happens, I'm going to hit my tab key once and I'm going to pick it. Now that that's in there, I want you to just simply click on Finish Edit Mode. Would you like the walls that go up to this floor's level to attach to a span? No, we don't in this case. The floor roof overlaps the highlighted walls. Yes, we do want to cut the geometry out, so click Yes. What I'd like to do is cut a section through here, so go ahead and click on Section. Let's cut a section right through here. I'm going to pull my extents down a little bit. I'm going to hit Escape a few times. I'm going to double click on my section marker. You can't see the hatch pattern in here, but let's set our detail level to fine. Let's set our scale to 1/2 inch equals a foot. Now our two systems are going to join right in together. I'm going to select my crop window and I'm going to pull it in a little bit. Pull the bottom up. And in my project browser, I'm going to rename this section. So where it says section 1, I'm going to call it all caps typical wall. I'm going to click apply. Go to a 3D view. Zoom into here. You see that our analytical plan is coming halfway into our slab here. One other thing that we can see is the analytical slab. If you type VG, go to analytical model categories. Let's select all by clicking all. We can uncheck those analytical models. So click apply, click OK. And that's how you place a slab or a floor in Revit. So the first thing I'd like to do is put some piers and pilasters in. So let's go down to level 1, floor plan. On the structure tab, let's click the column button. Let's click the drop down here and let's go to our 18 by 18. Now let's click edit type. Let's duplicate. Let's go 2 foot dash 6 inch by 2 foot dash 6 inch. And OK. I know my nomenclature is a tad different, but I want to know which are my piers and pilasters as opposed to my actual columns. So for my dimensions, B&H 2 foot 6, and then 2 space 6. Hit enter. Let's click OK. Now on our options bar, let's make sure our depth is constrained to top of footing. And I want to click on at grid intersection right here. So I'm going to pick a window around everything, pop some in. I'm going to click on finish. Okay, hit escape a couple times. And here it is. Now what I'd like to do is go down to our top of footing level. Now I'm going to put in a strip footing, or what Revit's going to call a wall foundation. Go ahead and click on wall on the foundation panel. I want to click edit type. Now let's duplicate. Our bearing footing, I want it to be 2 foot 6 by 12 and get rid of that 2. Let's click OK. Now the width will make it 2 foot 6. We'll keep that at 1 foot. Let's click OK. Now all we can do is select. So what I want to do is hover over this wall right here. Your tab key is going to pick them all. Now go ahead and pick it. Hit escape a few times. We've got it. Now I want to put some isolated footings in. So let's go to our foundation panel. Let's go to isolated. This thing's huge. Let's make a new one. Let's click edit type. Let's duplicate this. Let's call this 3 foot 6 by 3 foot 6 inches by 12 inches. And get rid of the 2. I got an extra inch mark there. Hit OK. Foundation thickness is 12 inches. The width is 3 foot 6. The length is 3 foot 6. Click OK. Now for this one, what we can do is let's place at columns. So click at structural columns. Pick a window around everything. Click finish. And you're in there. I'm going to go to a 3D view. Everybody's happy. Let's go to level 1 structural plan. Let's set our visual style to hidden line. When we zoom in, this looks like an actual structural foundation. Now the idea here is to edit the profile of a wall. So I'm going to go to level 1. I'm going to go to my south elevation. So I'm going to double click on south. And what I want to do is I want to step this footing down from about here. I'm going to put a couple steps in, and I'm going to step it back up. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to select our wall. From there, we're going to click on Edit Profile. Now we can start sketching away. So on my Draw panel, I'm going to click on my Pick Lines button. I want to come in maybe about here. I'm going to come in 29'6". I'm going to draw down 2 feet. I'm going to come over 4 feet, come down 2, come over 4. Maybe I'll come down 2 feet more. Then hit escape. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a window around these little steps. I'm going to type MM for mirror mid. I'm going to pick the center line of this column here. Now I'm going to click my line button. I'm going to draw a line straight across. Now we need to get rid of this middle line, so I'm going to type SL for split. I'm going to make sure we click delete inner segment. Pick a point here. Pick a point here. Hit escape a couple times. Now let's just click on finish edit mode. What happens is our footings will step down along with it. Problem is our pier is too high. So let's take a measurement and see how far we are. I'm going to click on measure between two references. From here to here. So it looks like we need a 6-foot offset on this pier. So that's okay. I'm going to select my pier or column. My base offset, I'm going to type in -6 feet. Hit enter. Click apply. And receive your warning, an attached structural foundation will be moved to the bottom of the column. Alright, that's exactly what I want you to do. Let that happen. I'm going to go to a 3D view. There we go, step footing. If you want to see more on how to build these edges up, go ahead and go to my concrete buildings and Revit structure on lynda.com. First thing I'd like to do is put some area reinforcing in our slab here. So under structural plans, let's go to level 1. Let's go to our structure tab. Now let's take a look at our reinforcement panel. Before we do anything, let's click the reinforcement drop-down and take a look at some of our settings. Let's go to our rebar cover settings. So go ahead and select rebar cover settings. We have a bunch of different predefined rebar cover settings here. We can make our own if we want. We can duplicate ones, but what these are, if we hit OK, and we select any kind of concrete wall. So I'm going to select my pier right here. And I want to scroll down in the properties until I get to structural. We see rebar cover top face. These rebar covers are what we see when we hit escape and we go to reinforcement cover settings. So these cover settings go into our concrete items. Cancel. Hit my reinforcement drop down again. Let's go to reinforcement settings. Now we can go through the whole thing. So general. Host structural rebar area and path, that's fine. Include hooks, sometimes it will, sometimes it will not. Now our rounding, we could round stuff off. The presentation, rebar set in view. I like to show all, you might as well. If you're gonna put it in, show it all. Area reinforcement, so here's our value for our settings. So how we wanna label them, each way, each face, these are pretty standard. I haven't had to change them. Path reinforcement, pretty much the same kind of thing. And varying rebar set. We can number bars individually or as a whole. So our rebar sets, we can number them as an entire set or just the bars in the set. Click cancel here. And what I'd like to do is I want to select this floor. If you can't select it the way I just did it, make sure down here that your select elements by face does not have a little red X mark next to it. Or if you can't select stuff, go ahead and pick a big window around it. Go to filter, click check none, and let's just select floors and hit OK. Now notice when we select a concrete element, we can add reinforcing. So what I want to do is I want to add area reinforcement. Rebar shape definitions will include hooks and will ignore line treatments. That's fine. Let's hit OK. Now what I want to do is over here, let's set our rules. So I'm going to scroll down. Top major direction, number 4s. Top major hook is fine. At 1 foot, that's fine. Top minor, same thing. Let's turn our bottom off. Let's turn our bottom major and minor off. We're not going to need that. Let's click apply. Now we can either set the major direction or the first line we pick will be the major direction for our bars. So under draw, let's click on pick lines. I'm going to pick this slab edge right here. Notice that this will be our direction. Pick here, here, and here. Now I'm going to click finish. It's going to put that in. And if we check out our note, we can keep it. We can put a bend in it. Number 4 is at 1 foot on top each way. Okay. Let's go to our section over here. Zoom in. We can see that our rebar is in our slab, which is pretty cool. Let's put some reinforcing in here. So what I'd like to do is select this item right here, this wall. And let's click on the rebar button right here. And what's going to happen is this is going to bring up our rebar shape browser. We can turn it on or turn it off. I want to use rebar shape double up. And for my placement, I want to place it perpendicular to cover. So I'm going to come in here. And I'm going to pop one right about here. And I'm going to hit escape a few times. Now I'm going to select this bar. Now for my layout, I want it to be maximum spacing. And I want that maximum spacing down here. Type in 12 inches. It's going to space it out at 12 inches. And it should stop it at our bottom rebar cover. To find out, just click the cover button. This will expose all the cover settings that we have. So you can see those little green dotted lines. Those are our cover settings. Escape. I'm going to select these bars. I'm going to type MM, and I'm going to mirror them. Now they're on the other side. I'm going to select the foundation wall again. I'm going to click rebar. This time my placement will be parallel to work plane. So now I put this in. I'm just going to put one here. I'm going to put one here. Escape a couple times. Now I'm going to select this foundation wall. I'm going to go rebar. But this time what I'm going to do is for my placement, I'm going to click the drop down and I'm going to go sketch rebar. Now we need to select the wall again. I'm not sure why they make us do that, but we have to. Now I'm just going to draw a dowel from here, down to here, over to here. Escape a couple times, click finish. There's a dowel. Now I can select that, click MM and mirror it. Now we can grab the grip on our dowel and kind of slide it up. We're doweling it in. Very cool. Okay. Now what I'd like to do is reinforce one of our piers. So now I'm going to go to level 1, structural plan. I'm going to go over here into the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the section button. I'm going to click a point from here to here. I'm going to pull the section back in. I'm going to open my section up. And change my scale. Change the 1/2 inch equals a foot. I'm going to pull this down a little bit. I'm going to set my detail level to fine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a section down through here. So I'm going to go to section again. This time I'm going to click the drop down and I'm going to go detail. I'm going to go from here to here. Looks like I got to flip it, so I'm going to flip it down. We have a detail section. Now I'm going to go to the section down here. I'm going to widen my crop region. I'm going to set my scale up to 1/2 inch equals a foot. Now I'm going to select my pier. I'm going to click on the rebar button again. This time I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to choose another shape. Here we go, rebar shape T1. Now we'll see, we can just pop it in there wherever we want. Escape a couple times. That's pretty thin, so I'm going to change how thick my rebar is. So I want to go to Manage. I want to go to Object Styles. I'm going to scroll down to Structural Rebar. Get that, it's a 1. Let's make it a 6. And let's make it a 6. Click Apply. Click OK. It's a lot better. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this rebar here. My layout is going to be maximum spacing. Spacing will be 12 inches. But what I want to do is I want to see how this looks in other views. So view visibility states I'm going to click edit. In my 3D view, I want to view it unobscured, and I want to view it as a solid. I want to click OK, hit escape. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this pier, this footing. I'm going to click on this little button right here, selection box. I'm going to change my scale to 3/4 of an inch equals a foot. Notice now that I can see my rebar unobscured. I can see my rebar, slab rebar. There is a lot to rebar. Down to level 2, structural plans. On the structure tab, before we put a beam in, I want to go to our properties. So let's go to structural settings. What happens is when we draw beams in a detail level, of course, we're going to get a symbolic cutback. So our beams and our trusses, we're going to have a symbolic cutback of 3/32 of an inch. Our columns have a symbolic cutback of 1/16 of an inch. So our beams will have 3/32 of an inch cutback. You can change that here. The reason I'm making a point out of it is because this is probably on the test. Click OK. Let's click on the beam button. Now I want to make sure that we have tag on placement turned on. I want to make sure 3D snapping is not turned on, but let's keep our chain button turned on. I'm going to zoom into here, and I'm going to draw a beam from this column to this column. I'm going to hit escape. There it is. I'm going to select this beam. What happens is we can see that we can pull our symbolic cutback in. We can pull our entire beam in. Or if we have different reactions or different elevations, we can flip our beam ends if we have it on the wrong side. Also, with our beam selected, we can change our justification points. If we click on justification point, we can go to the inside, the center, or the outside. I'm going to keep it right where it is, but I'm going to hit escape, set my beam again, and we can give it a Y offset. If we hover into here, we can enter a start point. So if I wanted to offset it, I could pick a point here, move it up. It would offset our beam. Our Z offset, you have to be in a section to do that. You can pull it up or down. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to undo once because I want to keep my beam right on the line. I'm going to select my beam again. I'm going to right click and I'm going to create similar. I'm going to go from here to here. Notice my chain button is on. I'll go from here to here, from here to here. Or if you're lazy like me, I'm going to click my beam button again. I'm going to click on grids. I'm going to pick a window around everything. I'm just going to click finish. Escape a couple times. What's nice is now that our beams are in and labeled, suppose I don't want W12 by 26. I want to change all of these beams. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one beam here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to select all instances, an entire project. I'm going to change these W shapes, 14 by 30. And of course, now that we're labeled, it's going to update just like that. One other thing I'd like to do, if we go to a 3D view, notice that we only have beams on level 1. So I'm going to select one of these beams. I'm going to right click, select all instances, an entire project. Now, I'm going to click on my copy to clipboard button. I'm going to click paste, aligned to selected levels. I'm going to go level 3, level 4, and let's go up to the roof. I'm going to click OK. I just escape a couple times, and now we've done it. Now what I'd like to do is do some concrete beams. So I'm going to click on open. Now I'm going to go to beams, concrete, and I'm going to click open. Now I want to go up to my roof level. And what's going to happen is each of these columns are offset down 2 feet. So I want my beams to slope. So if I go to a 3D view and I look at it, we'll see that we have uneven column heights. So our roof is going to slope up and down. I'm going to go to my roof level. I'm going to go to structure. I'm going to go to beam. I'm going to click my drop down. Now use a concrete beam 12 by 24. Now I'm going to turn on 3D snapping here. And I'm going to pick my first column on the center, my second one, put it right in. But we have to keep picking each point. It's a little more tedious, but the results are pretty cool. So now if I come straight down here, I should be able to use my chain. Keep going down. If I come to this one, I will probably interrupt it. That's okay. I keep going around the entire perimeter. And these will be able to go as a chain. Hit escape. Do this one. Because these are all -2 feet, we have to keep going one by one. But with these, we can keep our chain on. Easier one by one. Now let's do our horizontals. We'll have to certainly pick these one by one. One by one. Keep going. Yeah, almost there. One more bay left. As you can see, Revit's doing all the work for us. I just escape a couple times. We go to 3D view and see now that all of our framing is put in at those funny angles. What's nice though, if I go back to my roof level, now I put a beam anywhere in between here. I'm going to select one of these, right click, create similar. If I go from the midpoint to the midpoint, go to 3D view, each of my beams are going to be at that angle that we want it to be at. Because we have our 3D snapping turned on, remember that. I'm going to click close hidden windows. I'm going to hit Control Tab. I'm going to go back to my steel frame. And I want to go back down to level 2. Just to iterate that. If I want to draw a beam from beam to beam, if I select my W14 by 30, right click, create similar. I'm going to turn off my 3D snapping. As structural usage, I'm going to make it automatic, but if I put a beam from here to here, it's going to automatically analyze it as a joist. Now, where it's picking its line weight up from, if we go to Manage, if we go to Object Styles, and if we scroll down to Structural Framing, we can see now that if it analyzes something as a joist, it's going to be a little bit thinner than a girder. See, our girders are 6, our joists are a little thinner. My firm, unless it's an actual web joist, we make it the same line weight. You can make it the same as well. The reason I bring this up, again, they may have you do that on the test. I'm going to click cancel here. And if we select this joist, we can always scroll down. Structural usage, instead of joist, we want to analyze it as a girder. Click apply and escape. Now it's a girder. So that's how you do perimeter framing. What do here is go to level 2 structural plan. I'm going to zoom in on this area over here. I'm going to go structure. This time I'm going to go beam systems. The beam type, I'm going to go W12 by 26. My justification, I'm going to keep it at center. For my layout rule, I'm going to go maximum spacing. Now go 5 feet. Oh, I have a choice down here for tagging. Make sure tag on placement is turned on. I can either go system or framing, which means that I can just get an arrow saying 5W12 by 26 at 6 feet on center, or I can go framing, which just tags them all W12 by 26. Let's go with system. Now, when I hover over one of these beams, this justifies the span direction. So I go up here, I'll span horizontal. Let's pick this W14 by 30 and span vertical. I can see that it gives us our little tag. And we can go through. And we can add them all in. Also, what we can do is we can sketch a beam system. So if I click Sketch Beam System, I'm going to click on Pick Supports. I'm going to pick that support, that support, that support, and that support. But what I can do now is I can actually sketch a rectangle in the middle of it, like that. Now if I click on Finish, what's going to happen is my beams are going to terminate at that opening. Of course, now I can select one, right-click, create similar, and I can draw a beam from here to here. I can draw a beam from here to here. Now, if there's a real funny line type, if I select that, Revit's going to analyze it actually as a purlin. So if I go down to my purlin, I can, of course, change that to joist, girder, bracing, or other. So I'm going to go joist. Click Apply. Select that one. Joist. Apply. I'm going to select this whole bay and delete it. I'm going to delete these two. I'm just going to fill it in like normal. So I'm going to go to Structure, Beam System. I'm going to fill that in. That's the one. I just gave a few times. Now I'm going to select this beam system. Notice that we can remove the beam system. We can edit the boundary. We can edit the work plane, or we can pick a new host. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to right-click, select all instances visible in view. Look down here, we can see that we have 16 beam systems selected. So I'm going to click Copy. I'm going to go 3D View. I'm going to go to Modify. Paste aligned to selected levels, 3 and 4, not roof. And I'm going to click OK. And it copies my beam systems up. Zoom in. We've got now what I'd like to do is go to my concrete beams. So I'm going to go to Open. I'm going to find Beam Systems Concrete. I'm going to click Open here. I'm going to go down to level 2. Now I want some pan joists in here. So I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to load Family. I'm going to scroll down to Structural Framing. I'm going to go to Concrete. I'm going to find pan joists. Must we connect pan joists with lead use too? I'm just going to go with pan joists. I'm going to click Open. Now I'm going to go to Structure, Beam Systems, Beam Type. I'm going to go 6 by 14. Center Justification. I'm going to go Maximum Spacing. I'm going to go 5 feet. For the tag style, I'm going to go framing on this one. Now I'm going to go ahead and pick here. Just going to cut all of them back. Undo. Make sure that you're not duplicating beams like I just did. I'm going to go through and frame all these in. But with this one, I'm going to put a slab in here. So now I'm going to go to Structure. I'm going to go to Floor. Instead of my 6-inch basement, I'm just going to go 6-inch concrete. I'm going to click on Pick Supports. Over here on my draw panel, I'm just going to pick this one, this one, this one, and then this one. If I type TR for trim, I can trim these all up. I click Finish. Escape. It looks like a true floor plan. When I cut a section through it, make sure that we're at Building Section. Open up my section. Change my scale to 1/2 inch equals a foot. Change my detail level to fine. As we can see, we have a nice monolithic beam system. If I go to my roof level, and if I go to beam system, I make sure I turn 3D on. It should behave the way I want it to be. Go to a 3D view. Notice that our beams are going to go exactly where we want them. Get rid of that one in the middle that we put, go back to roof, and keep framing it in. Beam system. So now that we have our 3D set, and we have our perimeter framing set the way we want it, now we can simply add our beams in where we want. So that's how you add beam systems. Let's go to our roof level. This looks pretty bare, so let's label everything. If you go to the Annotate tab and go to Tag All, let's scroll down and find Structural Framing Tags. Let's click Apply. Let's click OK. Aha, that looks a lot better. Okay, let's put some joists in. Let's determine which way we're going to run our joists first. Since we have perfect 25-foot bays, it doesn't really matter, but let's run our joists vertical. So that means that every beam that a joist bears on has to be down 2.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my Control key, and I'm going to start picking all of my horizontal beams. Now, my start level offset and my end level offset both need to be down 2.5 inches. So I'm going to click in here, I'm going to type in minus 2.5 inches. Make sure it's negative. My end level, minus 2.5 inches. Also, make sure you're typing in the inch mark. We don't want them to be down 2'6". Takes a second. Okay, now they're down. So if I go to a 3D view, I come to the top here, and I look at it, they're down 2.5 inches. I'm going to set my visual style to hidden line, just so I can see it a little bit better. These are down 2.5 inches, exactly the way I want to see it. Now I'm going to go back down to my roof level. Now I want to load in some bar joists. So let's go to Insert. Let's go to Load, Family. Now I want to scroll down my directory and find Structural Framing. I want to go to Steel. I want to scroll down till I find Pay Series, Bar Joist. Let's go Angle Web. I'm going to click Open. I'm going to grab a 14K6. I'm going to hit OK. Now here's what I want to do. I want to go to Structure. I want to go to Beam System. I want to make sure we do Automatic Beam System. My layout rule, maximum spacing. I'll keep it at 5 feet. Let's make sure our beam type is 14K6. Let's turn 3D on. For tag style, let's go System. But here's the deal. It's not going to look right because of the fact that if we keep it just like this, it will physically in 3D be right, but in plan, it won't give us our symbolic cutback. So for our elevation, let's push that back up to 2.5 inches. It seems counterproductive, but this is how we can get it to look correct. Now what I want to do is I want to select this framing member. I want to pick that point. It takes a couple seconds longer to calculate. Now it looks right in plan. But before I do any more, I'm certainly going to go to a 3D view. I'm going to find my bar joist. I'm just going to make sure they're sitting right. I'm going to select one. I'm going to rotate around it. Yeah, these look pretty good. I'm going to hit Escape. I'm going to go back to my roof level. And I'm going to put more in. So I'm going to go Structure, Beam System. I'm going to start popping them in. Again, remember, if we had sloped beams by using 3D, this is how we're able to get our beams in at whatever the slope is. So the most important part is set your columns at the right height, slope your main beams, and then put in your perimeter framing using 3D snapping. If I go to a 3D view, everything looks pretty good. Over here, you're burning just nicely. So that's how you add bar joists. And what I'd like to do is put some bridging right across the bottom of these joists. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my roof level. I'm going to come into here, and there's a couple things I'm going to have to do. The first thing I'd like to do is load in some angles. So I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to go to Load Family. I'm going to scroll down to Structural Framing, Steel. I'm going to grab an L angle and click Open. These usually aren't too big. They keep our joists from moving laterally. So I'm going to go down to L 3 by 3 by 1/2 inch. I'm going to click OK. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Structure tab. I'm going to click on Beam. L angle 3 by 3 by 1/2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my structural usage. I'm going to click my drop down here. And I'm going to go with horizontal bracing. Not exactly sure where it's going to go, so I'm going to draw it in. Then I'm going to cut a section, put it in the right spot. Then we can just copy it around. So I'm going to pick a spot like right about here. Pick a spot like right about here. Just get a couple times. And there it is. So what I want to do now is I want to cut a section through it. Let's make sure our section is a building section. I'm going to pick a point from here to here. I'm going to open my section up. I'm going to set my detail level to fine. And of course, my brace is way up here, exactly where I don't want. So first thing I'm going to do is select it. Now I want my cross-section rotation to be 90 degrees. That way my L angle is facing down. Now I want to move it, but there's a couple things that I have to do. First, I'm going to go ahead and click on my thin lines button to make sure I'm moving it to the right spot. I'm going to select my brace. I'm going to click Move, but I need to turn Constraint off, and I need to keep this joint turned on. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to pick this intersection here. I'm going to move it straight down to where I need it. Elements will be deleted. That's fine. I know what it is, but let's take a look and see what's being deleted. Let's click Expand. Warning 1. Structural framing tag. Okay, that's fine. Hit OK. Now let's go back to our roof level. And there it is. I like to kind of section this way just to make sure we're on the actual web. I'm going to set my detail level to fine. It's close, but we can select it and we can move it and put it wherever we want it. Now with it down here, what I can do is I can expand my crop region. And now I can copy it to wherever I want it. I select my angle, click copy, apply here, and we can put it now wherever we want it. If I go back to my roof level, we'll see we've got it copied down. I'm going to turn my thin lines back off. Okay, so that's joist bridging. Now let's take a look at how we can do a cross brace frame. So what we need to do here is we need to go to View. We need to click our elevation drop down, and we need to use a framing elevation. So I'm going to click framing elevation. Now I'm going to click on grid line E here. Notice that it'll put our framing elevation in. So I'm going to click right here. Now I'm going to double click on elevation 1A. So I'm going to set my detail level to fine. Now when I come in here, I can put a lateral brace frame in. So what I need to do now is I want to go to my Structure tab, and I want to click on the Brace button right here. Instead of an L angle, let's hit the drop down. I'm going to grab an HSS 6 by 6 by 1/2. Now the idea here is I want to catch the analytical plane of my beam. So I'm going to hover over here, and I'm going to find that endpoint or that analytical plane. I'm going to pick it right there. I'm going to come up and I'm going to find the analytical midpoint of this beam up here. If you can't find it, type SN and it'll land right on it. We're going to pick that right there. And what this does is this frames it in and it gives us a symbolic cutback. So let's do the same down here, endpoint, to the midpoint. And we can do a vertical one. I can go midpoint. Make sure you go all the way down to midpoint. Hit escape a couple times. And there it is. Now we'll see we have a 1-inch cutback. So let's see what's controlling that. So if we select this item, and if we scroll down, our cutbacks are a 1/2 inch. Also, let's go to level 3 floor plan. I'm going to zoom in here. Notice that we now have some symbology for that frame. So how does that look? Let's go to our structure panel. Let's click the little structural settings flyout right here. And for our brace symbols in plan, we can choose a couple different things. We can do parallel line. Let's choose line with angles and see what that looks like. Now down here, we can show brace above, show brace below, and there's even a kicker brace symbol. So for a symbol, connection brace angle, that's fine. I'm going to click OK. And now it's going to give us a different look. Go down to level 2, and it's looking that way. Go to a 3D view. Here's our lateral brace frame here. And here's our dress bridging here. So that's how you add brace frames. The objective here is to create a roof with a concrete base, 4 inches of insulation, and an EPDM membrane. Because we're in a structural discipline, chances are roofs aren't shown. It's not. Let's click Apply. Let's click OK. Let's go down to our roof level. Let's type VG. Let's scroll down to roofs. Just make sure it's turned on. It is turned on, so let's click OK. Just to make sure we can see it, let's set our discipline. Instead of structural, let's set up the coordination and click Apply. The reason I worry about such things is the fact that this is an architectural feature and we're putting it in a structural model. Okay, let's get started. Let's go to the Architecture tab. Let's click the Roof button. We'll start with our basic roof generic 12-inch. Let's click Edit Type. Let's click Duplicate. For the name, let's call it 6-inch concrete with 4-inch tapered insulation. Let's click OK. Now for our structure, let's click on Edit. And under Edit Assembly, let's click our Preview button. For Structure 1, Material, let's click into where it says by category, and let's click the Builder button. Let's find Concrete. I'm going to find Concrete Cast in Place Gray. That's what everything else seems to be defaulting to, so we'll use this for a default also. Let's click OK. For the thickness, let's make it 6 inches. Now what I'd like to do is outside of our core boundary, I want to click on number 1, and let's click Insert. For our function, let's click the drop down. Let's go Substrate. For the material, let's click into our material cell and click our Builder button. Let's type in insulation. Let's grab this rigid insulation and let's click OK. For the thickness, let's type in 4 inches. But let's make it variable, meaning this thickness will be 4 inches, but we're going to be able to pitch it down if we see fit. Let's click on Substrate 2 and let's click Insert. For the function, click the drop down. Let's go Finish 1. For the material, click into the Builder button. Let's find Roofing EPDM membrane. Let's double click on that. Let's make that thickness a 1/2 inch. Here it is built up. Let's click OK. Let's click OK. Now that we have this, let's click on Pick Lines. But what I'd like to do is down here, let's set our detail level to 5. I want to be able to pick the outside face of that beam. So I'm going to pick here. 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 Now what I'd like to do is type TR for trim, TR. Make sure all of our corners are trimmed up. Now pick the lines you want to keep. I'm going to hit escape a couple times. Now select each of your lines by holding down your control key. Make sure that the fine slope is turned off. Hit escape a couple times. Now that we've got that, let's just click on Finish Edit Mode. We've got a roof. If we go to 3D View, let's set our visual style to Hidden Line. And here's a roof. Now what we need to do is taper it down. So let's go to our roof level. And what I'd like to do is select our roof by hovering over the edge. Or if you uncheck this button right here, you can just click it right in the middle. Now once we select it, notice that we can add split lines. So these are going to be the high points of our roof. So click Add Split Line. I'm going to zoom in, make sure we're on that green intersection. I'm going to go down to here. I'm going to do this one here. Make sure you're on the green line. I'm going to go all the way down. Make sure you're on the green line. And hit escape. I'm going to do one more. Add split line. I'm going to go from this green line down to here. Escape. One more. Add split line. I'm going to go from this greeny to this greeny. That's one. Okay, now if we look at it, we got our roof kind of split up. So now what I want to do is I want to select my roof again. Now I want to click Add Point. I'm going to add a point right to the middle here. I'm going to eyeball a middle point here. Although we shouldn't eyeball anything, let's just pick a point here. I'm going to eyeball a point here. I'm going to put one here. I'm going to put one here. Escape a few times. Roof goes away. Now when you hover over it, you select it. Now what I want to do is click Modify Sub-Elements. Now I want to come in and I want to select that dot. Notice that we get a little increment. I'm going to click in here. I'm going to type in -3 inches. I'm just going to pitch that slope down. Like that, we're going to go -3 inches. And going all the way around, -3 inches. Last one, -3 inches. Cool. Escape a couple times. I've got those slopes going real nice. So if I go to my section, look up here, notice that our roof is pitching down. Go to a 3D view. Notice that our roof actually has real life pitches in it. So that's how you add a flat roof and pitch the insulation. Let's go down to level 2. On the Structure tab, let's click Floor. For my floor, I want to go up and I want to grab 3-inch lightweight concrete and 2-inch comp deck. Let's click Edit Type. Now, let's, under Structure, click Edit. What we'll see here is we have a structural layer and we have a structural decking layer. Now, click on the structural deck layer. Notice down under here, Structural Deck Properties, we have Form Deck Composite 2x6. Now, if we hit the drop down, here's all the deck types that are available in our Revit template. Now, there are third-party add-on programs that don't really care for them. Generally, we have everything we need right here. The deck usage is either standalone deck or it's a bound layer above, meaning this concrete product out of it. So this is going to be bound layer above. And we don't need to change anything. I just want to illustrate exactly what this decking is comprised of. So let's click OK. Let's click Apply. Let's click OK. Now what I'd like to do with our deck is on the Draw panel, I want to click on Pick supports. So click on pick supports, please. And I'm going to pick this beam, this beam, this beam, and this beam. Type TR for trim, and let's trim these up. Could be better. Let's click on finish. Now I want to make sure that my deck is out of my framing. So I'm going to go to my section. I'm never sure. And sure enough, it is not. So we're going to select our deck. We're going to click edit type. And we're going to see our default thickness is 5 inches. Just want to make sure. I'm going to click OK. My height offset from level wants to be 5 inches. Click apply and escape. Got a problem on the edge here though, so let's fix that. Let's go down to level 2. Let's hover over our deck and select it. Now let's click edit boundary. Now let's select this line right here. Now we can either cantilever concrete or we can cantilever steel. Steel doesn't mean the framing it's on. Steel means the decking that's in it. So we could make the steel drop back, or we can cantilever the concrete. I want to cantilever the concrete. I want to type 6 inches. And notice now that we see this little black, we hit escape, we see the black line. So our decking is going to stop right here, and our concrete's going to extend past it. So click finish edit mode. Hit escape a couple times. Let's go to our section. I want to do a little call out of this area. So I'm going to go to view. Then I'm going to go to call out. I want to pick a nice big box right around here. Select it. I'm going to move my bubble out of the way. I'm going to double click my bubble. Set my scale to 3/4 of an inch equals a foot. I'm going to zoom into here and see what happens. So my deck comes down. I'm going to tack weld it right there. And it's going to cantilever out 6 inches from this point over. Now, it could have gone less. Obviously, we're going to need some kind of angle, a porta stop, but you get the point. I'm going to go back down to level 2. I'm going to select my deck. I'm going to edit boundary. Each of these, I'm going to cantilever the concrete 6 inches, but some of them have to be minus 6 inches, as you can see on that one. Got that. Come down here, I'm going to select this one, minus 6 inches. Luckily, I have a real easy building for you. Is this one 6 inches or minus? I'll bet it's 6 inches. I was right. Escape a couple times. Click finish. Now we've got our slab. Okay, let's go to open, and I want to grab sloped floors concrete. Click open. Now we have a problem up here, right? So let's put a floor on this craziness. So let's go up to our roof. Let's go to structure. Let's go to floor. Let's keep with our 6-inch concrete. Let's click on pick supports. Let's grab this one. Let's grab this one. Let's grab this one. Let's grab this one. Let's type TR for trim. Let's click finish. Let's go to a 3D view. I click in the 3D house, and nothing really happened. We can fix that. So what I'd like to do now is go ahead and select your floor. Now remember when we added our points and our split lines? Well, we can pick supports also. So go ahead and click on pick supports. And start picking the beams that you want your floor to snap to. But remember, we have to pick all of them to make it work right. So it takes a little while. This is fine. We know that it's shaped funny. If it wasn't shaped funny, anyone could do it. Go back to the back here. We're gonna ground. I'm gonna keep picking them supports. We know. Not deterred by any of your warnings. So let's keep picking. Keep picking. Alright, let's get the ones in the middle now. These are a little harder. Depending on how fast your computer is, make sure you're picking your main beams, not your intermittent ones. It's calculating it. But the good thing about this is I know it's taking a couple minutes longer than you might have, but if we ever change the elevation of these columns, our floor will accommodate that. As you can see, it's kind of shaping to it. And we can pick these now, and these will start to morph it in that direction. I know there's a lot, whoops, didn't mean to pick that one. I know there's a lot of beams to pick. And instead of picking them all, in the interest of time, you can see how this works. And escape, you can see that this starts to form basically to the framing that we pick. Select it again. If you have any interns coming in for the summer, put in your framing, put your roof on, and make them go through and pick all of the supports. Because that's what interns are good for. If you're an intern taking this course, I apologize. So you see how that works. Another item, and I'll go to my roof level. I'm going to come over to the side here. I'm just going to click on floor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on rectangle. I'm going to draw a giant rectangle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slope my floor. So I'm going to click on slope arrow. I'm going to slope my floor maybe from corner to corner. I'm going to select my slope arrow, and we'll specify height at tail, or we'll specify slope. I like slope. So for our slope, let's do 2 degrees. Apply. Let's click finish. Let's go to 3D view. And we have a slope floor as well. Now it's nice if we go to our roof level. So let's go to our view range. For the top, let's go unlimited and click apply. Click OK. Let's go back. For our cut plane, let's go 200 feet. Click apply. Click OK. Now I'm going to go structural column. My depth, I'll go down to level 1. I'm just going to put a column here, maybe one here, here. Remember, just put them wherever you feel like. I'm going to go to 3D view now. These columns are kind of willy-nilly. So if I select my columns by holding down my control key, I can attach top base. I can select my floor. My columns are going to attach to that slope floor. So there you go. I think we've exhausted floors.